transactions took place was trading at a multiple of 5 times book. But currently it's trading at 1, or many banks are trading at below 1 book. Is that the right valuation? Is that correctly pricing the bank's potential and the future growth potential of this industry? This, of course, is one of the key questions that we have to answer in any M&A transaction. Just as an example, the Nishad Group in Pakistan presents an excellent example of diversification and growth through M&A. Almost all their growth took place through M&A. Both some at times hostile, some from through the privatization process, and through M&A they were not only able to grow rapidly, but to reposition themselves in different business areas apart from their core area of textile, and become probably the largest business group in Pakistan over the last 15 years. M&A activity in Pakistan has generally been largely dominated by the privatization program. Unfortunately, there is no complete data that is available, but this is what our research and our corporate finance group, which tracks this activity, has pulled together. So as you can see, there has been reasonable amount of M&A activity, and many which are not reported would add to these numbers. And we believe that M&A will continue to grow rapidly in coming years in Pakistan. Now let's focus for a few minutes on the nuts and bolts of an M&A transactions. Many of these points are quite obvious, but it is worth reiterating them because in the excitement of a deal, many of these obvious points are missed. There has to be a very clear focus on the rationale and the reason for an acquisition or a sale, and really an ironclad discipline on the due diligence process and the valuations, because these are critical for any successful acquisition. As you know, the recent corporate history, both in Pakistan as well as internationally, is littered with failed M&A transactions, where to do the deal, excessive valuations were paid. And whereas we have examples of people, as we said, like the Nishad Group or somebody like Warren Buffett, who've been very disciplined in when they will acquire, what they will acquire, and at what valuation. And again, as I said, it's important to reiterate that M&A can be a growth strategy for the buyer as well as for the seller, because it's not that if somebody is selling the company that they are going to be going out of the business. They can reallocate those resources into areas where they feel they have a competitive advantage and can produce a better return. Again, as I said, you have to have very clear reasons for why you want to buy or sell. For example, one area, culture, which is many times ignored in an acquisition. A banking client of ours who was looking at an acquisition, and we were in discussions with them about the potential acquisition. It made a lot of sense. All the numbers made sense. The positioning made sense. They had the cash to make that acquisition, but they still decided not to go ahead. And the reason by the board and the CEO was very simple. They said that our culture and the culture of the potential acquisition is so different that by the time we get over that, all kinds of unintended consequences could happen. So, these are very important things that need to be thought through, apart from just the nuts and bolts and the numbers. Another thing which I think is very important, and this is based on our experience of M&A transactions over the last 20 years, and mashallah, BMA is probably the only firm that's been repeatedly ranked in international league tables for M&A, and for both 2009 and 2010, we got Deal of the Year award in Asia Pacific for transactions we did in Pakistan. So, this is based on our experience, and it's, very important because in M&A transactions, once the deal is in play or the company is in play, time is generally short. And it is very important for both the buyer and the seller to come to a conclusion, whether the deal closes or doesn't close, but it needs to happen in a tight time frame. And hence, it is very important to work in a disciplined manner. It is important to work both in a sequential as well as in a parallel manner. There are a number of things that can be done in parallel, and the way you organize yourself, both internally within the company and both for the buyer and the seller, this is a very time-intensive process. It is critical to their future success. It requires the attention of management at the highest level, from the board, the CEO, the CFO, etc. So it's very important that it happens in a well-organized manner. And I think a good advisor in such a process can really play a very, very important and critical role. One of our oldest clients, in fact, who is also head of the largest business groups here, puts it very simply that badi deal direct nahi hoti kabhi. Because there are issues of ego, there are issues, non-financial that come up, which need to be properly handled and transmitted between the buyer and the seller. And it's very important that deal doesn't drag on, because it has reputational impacts, the staff gets demotivated, there are repercussions in the marketplace. So you have to move in a disciplined manner, but you have to move quickly as well. In the current downturn that's taken place globally in the last 24 to 30 months, firms all over the world have been taking advantage of the environment. Valuations have come down. For stronger firms, it's an opportunity to grow further. For weaker firms, it is also an opportunity to reposition themselves, really figure out what they need to do and what they can be good at. And the opportunity is perhaps even greater in Pakistan, because competition for assets in Pakistan has declined substantially. In previous years, for example, when any large asset came up for privatizations, it was inevitably large international firms that came and bid for them. Right now, because of the geopolitical situation that Pakistan finds itself in, that interest is quite subdued. So it's an opportunity for local entrepreneurs, for local business groups, to be able to expand and grow through acquisitions. And as I was saying, that we've seen such acquisitions gathering pace. These are just some examples. The Nishad Group's acquisition of AES Power, which was an international firm that was exiting out of Pakistan. Then, the Lotte Group or KB Chemical from Korea that came in and acquired a majority stake in Pakistan PTA. From our own experience, at BMA, we have never had such a full deal pipeline for M&A transactions as we've had today. But it is correct that compared to internationally, relative to international markets, the M&A theme in Pakistan does remain subdued and is not as in play and used as I believe it should be. And there are a number of reasons, some obvious, some not so obvious. There's lack of acquisition financing, the high cost of capital. The sellers face a similar dilemma. Because of the high risk perception, valuations are subdued, so they may feel that it's not the correct time to sell. But I think one reason which I would like to highlight, which is more peculiar to Pakistan and to some extent Asia, is that of family-owned businesses and lack of professional management, which is linked to separation of management and ownership. Buyers feel that they don't have enough sons to expand, and sellers feel that this is a family asset and must be retained even if the performance and returns are suboptimal. And it would actually make a lot of sense for them to sell. This is a serious issue and it's constraining the growth of the corporate sector in Pakistan. And I think ICAP may wish to focus on this issue separately. This is also one reason that I believe that many